town of Southwick was incorporated 5 years before the American Revolution began. This charming New England town of under 10,000 residents triples in size when Pro Motocross comes to town for its annual race.
Honda's young star Chase Sexton has led the 450 championship since his dominating win at the opener.
A 1-1 sweep in round one for Chase Sexton.
As the season hits the halfway point, the 23-year-old is facing a challenge from veteran Eli Tomac. The star Yamaha rider has won the past two events and has closed the championship gap to 7 points as he looks for his fourth series title.
Great pass by Eli Tomac.
Dominant run to win Red Bud for Eli Tomac.
Today's challenge, the tricky sands of Southwick, where both man and machine will be put to the test over two grueling 35-minute motos.
This might be the toughest racetrack in all of motocross. It's round 6 of the Lucas Oil Pro Motocross Championship, sanctioned by MRPRO Racing, the MB Tractor and Equipment, Southwick National. Hello everyone and welcome to Southwick. Live motocross coverage on NBC. Jason Wygant and the greatest of all time, the 15-time national champion Ricky Carmichael. Well, boy, we're trying to decide who's going to win this year's title. And it's the young Chase Sexton, 23 years old, has never won a championship in this series, and quickly closing the nearly 30-year-old Eli Tomac, who's on a roll.
Yeah, Eli is catching fire at the perfect time, but do not sleep on Chase Sexton's skills. He's been very consistent all year long. He's been the only guy to be on the podium all year long. Now, Eli Tomac's stats show that he's a favorite here, but keep your eye on Chase Sexton.
And we focus on being a favorite here because this track, much different than the other rounds. What makes it so unique?
Oh, the sand makes it so hard physically and mechanically from the motorcycle standpoint. There's so much drag on the machines. These guys are going to be put to the test here today at Southwick.
Okay, that could change things in a hurry. If you're Eli Tomac, you don't want that to happen. The three-time series champ has won the last two races. When we return, Will Christian will give you more information on a rider who's had a real renaissance in his 2022 season.
The 50th anniversary season of Pro Motocross is brought to you by Lucas Oil, keep that engine alive. General Tire, for whatever you do, General Tire delivers. And by Honda, celebrating 50 years of off-road dominance.
Huge crowd on hand here in Southwick, Massachusetts, as we talk 50 years of professional motocross history in the U.S. And we have three greats all on hand. Our own Ricky Carmichael here with us in the booth. We'll show you the all-time marks in Pro Motocross. Carmichael helping us today. Well, okay, Ricky, you dominated all these categories. First by a long range in all of them. And then Ryan Dungey, who's second on the all-time list in each of those categories. Individual moto wins, overall wins, and podiums. Out of retirement, he is racing today. And Eli Tomac, who's been tracking this story all year, rising through the ranks, third all-time in the major statistical categories of the 450 motocross class. Here's Will Christian with more on Eli Tomac in our Monster Energy Spotlight.
Thank you, Jason and Ricky, and the Monster Energy Yamaha star racing rider not done adding to that already impressive lineup of stats there. After going 1-1 for the overall win at Red Bud last weekend in Michigan, he is now only 7 points behind the red plate holder Chase Sexton and has put himself in an excellent position to try and secure his fourth Lucas Oil Pro Motocross Championship. He has said to us, though, the 29-year-old Colorado native, that this might be his last professional motocross season. And whilst he knows he has a battle ahead of him through these final 7 rounds to get that fourth title done, he has also taken the time to reflect on a career that has etched his name deep in the history books.
I have, and it's been kind of this year that I've looked at those statistics. I mean, when you get to that point, those things start coming up, people start mentioning it more. For me, it's amazing how fast it creeps up on you, those statistics. I've had a great time doing it. I've enjoyed all of it. You look up to those riders, a lot of those people or those riders in that position, and now to be on par with them or even beating some of the guys you look up to it's a place that maybe I didn't think I would get to, honestly, but to be here, it's like a dream come true.
And that's part of the reason the fans have really come to embrace Tomac's run this year. He could have called it a career a year ago. He's come back. He wants another title, but he's got a heck of a field to try to go through to get it this season. So we're ready to go racing here at Southwick Lucas Oil Pro Motocross Championship. We've talked so much about the 23 of Chase Sexton trying to hold off Eli Tomac, but there are riders that can get in between them and battle for today's race win. Ken Roczen, Jason Anderson, Ryan Dungey, well established in their own right.
Yeah, and if you're Chase Sexton or Eli Tomac, certainly you want to use those guys that you mentioned to your advantage, getting in between them, building some separation.
All right, RC, we're about to go racing, but give us the KTM keys to the Moto at Southwick.
Well, this is the most physically demanding track on the circuit, no doubt. Physical preservation and bike preservation, it's going to be key. You don't want to go into the red as far as heart rate zone goes. If you do, it's very hard to bring that back down. So control that. And then, of course, bike preservation. You want to get that thing to make it to the end of the race. The sand lugs these bikes down. That asks a lot out of the motorcycle, building up a lot of engine heat as well. So be mindful. If you don't have any pressure from behind you, give that motorcycle a rest as well.
Yeah, wait till you see how rough and tough this track is as we are ready to go racing. We'll give credit to the FMF Privateer Power Award winner, Benny Bloss, rider out of Missouri on the Butler Brothers MX KTM, doing it without the major factory support and getting solid results inside the points, paying top 20 positions. So here it is now. 40 riders go to the gate. The mechanics begin to move away. This is our first moto of the day. They'll race for 30 minutes and 2 laps. In a little over an hour, they'll come back to the track and do it again. That's motocross tradition, 2 races in a day. But each individual moto pays championship points, so there is every bit on the line right now.
Well, this is a very tricky first corner for a couple reasons. It's very narrow, it's tight, it's very sharp as well. And then when you're trying to slow down in the sand, these bikes have so much resistance, the weight wants to transfer from the back to the front end, and that front end wants to tuck and kind of give way. So keep your eye out on this first corner.
30-second card is up. Once that turns sideways, the riders will focus down on the starting gate. One of the toughest tests in all of motorsports. A 30-minute race in the sand of Southwick, Massachusetts. Here we go. The revs are up. Gates down. Ryan Dungey on the inside. Can he knife through? That's one of the Honda riders. Is it Ken Roczen off to the early lead? I believe it is Roczen who's going to have the motorsport.com hole shot. So 2 veterans who have won this championship 5 times between the 2 of them up front. Jason Anderson is down in the first turn for the 2nd week in a row.
Same thing happened at Red Bud last weekend. Great start, like you said, Jason. For Ken Roczen, I anticipate that he's going to put the hammer down here, try to build as big of a lead as he can early on in this race.
Christian Craig around Dungey to move in 2nd. That is Eli Tomac's teammate of the Monster Yamaha Star Racing ride. And there is Chase Sexton, your series leader, up to 4th, challenging Dungey for 3rd.
Yeah, Dungey's got to hold strong right now. These guys are so aggressive early on in these races, making moves as fast as they can to get the best track position as possible. So he's got to do the best he can to fend off the guys coming from behind.
And Dungey trying to ride defense. He actually popped from the inside to the outside of the track. And here is a challenge from Chris Canning, the local native, a privateer. And it is tradition at Southwick that the locals know this track. He almost made the move on Sexton.
One thing about these locals in the Southwick area and the Northeast, man, they come and they rise to the occasion here at Southwick, always running up front.
Yes, no other track on this circuit favors the locals like this. The knowledge of how the sand develops is something that Canning learns by racing this track nearly every weekend throughout the year, and he is not intimidated by the superstars of the sport. He is running 5th. There's Sexton. You see the green gear. Canning right behind him. Now Dungey regroups. See him in the orange Red Bull KTM. The Beta drone cam trying to challenge Sexton for 2nd. And as you predicted, Carmichael, Ken Roczen is checking out.
Whole shot. He is so good. He's such a great rider in general, but has a lot of talent. But man, he gets really great starts on an average, and he has the ability to just put in some really fast sprint laps early on in these motos and build a lead. When you're able to do that, it certainly helps you physically, mentally. You get out there and you just kind of hit your lines and pay attention. You're not in a heated battle. Kind of takes the pressure off just a tad.
And the crowd coming to life, no doubt they are cheering for Chris Canning, the local native, starting off in 5th. Savacci is 6th, and Eli Tomac struggling a bit. Not the start he wanted in 7th, but it is a long race. Oh, Craig! almost goes down. Now he's off the track. He has to not gain an advantage in this section. He doesn't have to yield the position to Dungey. He has just to enter with essentially the same gap that he had.
I feel like that was fair for Christian Craig. He shouldn't be penalized for that. He didn't gain a position. I don't believe, if anything, he lost time. You could see when he was off track, he didn't grab a handful of throttle and try to make up time. So I don't think he will be penalized for that. He was looking back, got in at a safe place.
Oh, and Craig almost throws it away again. We are seeing firsthand how difficult this track is.
Yeah, what's happening is look like his rear end is pushing his front end down, like the weight is transferring toward the front, and his front end is getting compressed.
And he is in for a ride when that happens. Look at this battle. We're trying to find Eli Tomac. I believe that's him in the red gear. We mentioned the local native Canning. He's at the top in red. Then the orange bike is Aaron Plessinger, the number 7. Then Tomac with the red gear. So he has some serious work to do. He was 7th. He actually got passed by Plessinger.
He is way back right now, and you lose so much time early on in these races. The guys up front, Jason, they have a clear track, so they're able to put in fast laps and build a huge gap. When I say huge gap, I'm talking 5, 6, 7, 8 seconds. Really hard to make that time up once you get into a position where you have a clear track.
Plessinger on the roll. He wants clear track. He wants to get around Canning. He's on the outside here on that orange number 7, getting a run on the local native. Firing into this pit and back out. No, wait, Tomac out of nowhere makes the move on Plessinger, and now he's got Canning under his sights, and he makes the move on him as well. 2 passes in one section for Tomac.
Man, that straightaway is so rough right there, and that is full commitment by Eli Tomac, just going for it, trying to pick off as many spots as he can early on this raceway. All these guys are so bunched up, Will.
We'll send it down to Will with more on the number 3.
Well, guys, the comfort is clearly there. The fact that he's able to make those passes, like you said, and we reflect back on qualifying earlier. He was the fastest qualifier in the first session. In the second session, he was 5th. When I spoke to the team about that, they said, yes, they made some changes in between the two there. They said, actually, after what happened in the second there, they ended up going back to where they were bike-wise in the first. So the comfort should be in that place that he was in when he was putting down the fastest laps of the day.
Thanks, Will. And we have a change for the lead. You saw it in the 5 battle box. Christian Craig made the move on Roczen.
Well, I had an opportunity to talk to Christian Craig after last weekend, and the box score really didn't show how well he was riding. He was really disappointed because he felt like he was riding well and has been riding well all season. He's finally gotten the opportunity, put himself in a great spot here, getting a great start early, and he is off to a great start.
Veteran out of California, Craig taking the lead from the German, Roczen, and Ryan Dungey has stayed right there. And this crowd would go crazy if Dungey, the veteran, who has not raced in 5 years, could put it on the podium today. There he is. Now Roczen and Dungey here second. Oh, Dungey, a rare mistake, tips it over.
Yeah, rarely do you see that from Ryan Dungey. If I had to guess what happened right there, they're going through that corner. We talk about the top of the berms getting really soft, and that's from the guys riding really high up on the berm. The berm gave away. Ken used up all the berm. Ryan was right behind him. Boom, the berm gives away. Ryan had nowhere to go.
And Eli Tomac able to sneak by, and now Dungey's challenge is to try to find his rhythm after the fall.
Well, this is going to be hard to do, and I'm going to tell you why. This track is so physically demanding. Then when you go down, have to pick that 235-pound motorcycle up and get back going. Your heart rate gets elevated. Very hard to get that heart rate down.
And Tomac leaping downhill here. He was in 8th a lap ago. He is suddenly in 4th. A couple of passes, a crash by Dungey, and he is not out of this thing. But damage done. 6.7 seconds the gap between Tomac and the leader, his teammate Christian Craig. Take a look at Dungey here. So you're saying Roczen actually moved the soil.
Yeah, watch. He's going to ride at the top of the berm. And when he does, oh, no, I'm sorry. Ryan gets into the corner just a little harder than anticipated. And as he did that, yeah, just stalled the momentum of the bike out. Boom, he goes down.
Wow, and that really is the specialty of Dungey. You hardly ever see the unforced error. So now he has some ground to make up. Tomac has gotten by. Tomac has clear racetrack between himself and the lead trio. Sexton, Roczen, and Craig. Can he make up the ground? And how about Christian Craig? He is pulling away from Roczen. Oh, another mistake.
He does the same thing I'd seen 3 times.
Yes, 3 big mistakes from Craig. 1 off-track excursion. Can he keep it upright on this rough racetrack? So much chatter about Tomac, Roczen, Sexton, Dungey, and the rest, but Christian Craig has got the drop on everyone today, and Sexton has arrived. He's there to challenge Roczen.
Well, and we've talked about the stats and just how good Eli's stats are here at this track comparative to Chase Sexton. So Chase Sexton's in a great spot championship-wise. I feel like if he can get through this race, Southwick, in a relatively good spot points-related, he's going to be great position for the rest of this Lucas Oil Pro Motocross Championship.
And he has a gap to play with between he and Tomac. There's about 4 seconds. So the question is, can Tomac make that up while Sexton is going to be doing some battle here with Roczen and possibly Craig? Or maybe Craig just continues to roll out. We'll have to see how this Moto unfolds, but a great one so far for the 28. Sexton continues to pressure Roczen. So rough down this hill, through this valley.
Really rough right now. These guys are going to have to dig deep still early on in the Moto here.
Roczen bottoms out hard on that landing.
Interesting to see how deep in the Moto that Kenny can go at this pace after being sick last week.
That's right. NASCAR is on USA down in Atlanta this weekend. It all starts later today with the Xfinity Series at 4:30 Eastern. And then tomorrow the Cup Series tackles the unique 1.5-mile super speedway in Atlanta at 2 Eastern. Right now you're watching Lucas Oil Pro Motocross here live on NBC. It's a battle for second. The 94, Ken Roczen, the Honda rider out of Germany. His teammate and the series points leader, Chase Sexton, is right behind him. And second in the series is Eli Tomac in fourth, and Tomac is starting to close.
Well, that's no surprise. If you're Chase Sexton right here, got to do the best that you can to try to get by Ken Roczen, get some clean air, and set your sights on Christian Craig, Will.
I just wanted to give you guys an update on Ken Roczen. We know he wasn't 100% there last weekend. He was suffering from a cold of sorts. Apparently now he's in pretty good shape, and bike-wise they described some fairly significant changes that actually takes their settings back to something much more similar than it was to what they had at the beginning of the year, and in fact last season. So they said, Kenny, in a good place right now and feeling confident. Side note too, guys, he's got his dad in town at the moment, and they said they always see the best version of Kenny when his dad's around. No one knows him better than he does.
That's cool. Bringing Dad back over from Germany, and it is beginning to tighten up. Christian Craig, your leader. Then you're seeing Roczen in second, Sexton in third on this ETS drone camera. And occasionally, you're seeing the Yamaha of Tomac lurking in the shot. He was 6.8 seconds off the lead 2 laps ago. Now Tomac, you see the red jersey? He's 1.8 seconds back. Made up 5 seconds in 2 laps. We can have a 4-rider battle for the lead if Tomac keeps this pace up, and Sexton has to go. He does not want to yield. Ryan Dungey, after a crash here in 5th, trying to hang with the pace of Tomac.
Well, yeah, he's still keeping these guys right here until still a lot of racing left for all these guys right here, riding an incredibly fast pace. At some point, things are going to level out. These guys are going to find their rhythm and say, all right, this is what I got. I can run it right here to this limit without cracking and making it the whole 30 minutes plus 2 laps.
So how rough this track is, Ricky Carmichael, you cannot go full sprint.
Yeah, I mean, you can. I don't think you're going to be able to make it the whole Moto with doing that. It's a fine line. You know, you ride it right to the edge of where you know you won't crack. And some guys, some edges are higher than the others, and that's what I love about it. We'll be able to find out what that edge is here in another 10 minutes or so.
Well, I'd say the big mystery is Christian Craig, who has passed some big hitters in this series. He's never won a Motocross National, and he's leading right now. Does he have this pace all the way to the end? He is inching away from Roczen in the rest of the field. We'll see what Craig has in the second half of this race.
Well, he's in great enough shape. There's no question about that. And when you're out front like this, you know, you're not having to hold your breath from other riders' roofs, so that helps you a little bit more as far as heart rate goes, and not holding your breath, finding your breathing rhythms as well.
Tomac has caught Chase Sexton, so we have the battle between the 2 series leaders that we wanted to see. But remember how much ground Tomac has made up. 4, 5, 6 seconds over the course of the last couple of laps, and he's already there. So the pace is no doubt quicker than the riders in front of him.
Well, we talked about it at the opening of the show. These are the two guys that have really identified themselves as the front runners for the championship. They're pretty much 25 points ahead of the rest of the guys who are already halfway through this season, and this is a championship battle right here for these guys. And at the end of the day, I think the guy who's going to win this championship is the one who doesn't crack, who's able to be the most consistent and doesn't buckle to the pressure.
And the pressure being applied on Sexton right now. He's on the red bike. And then Tomac closing rapidly from fourth. But they still have to deal with Roczen and Craig. So, as we expected, the field this year has been very deep on talent. And it is a 1-2 show in the points for these riders. But that doesn't mean they're 1-2 in every race. And they've got their work cut out if they want to catch Craig and Roczen. Dungy's still lurking in fifth. Max Anstey, the Englishman, in sixth. Plessinger, Savachi, Barsha, and the local Canning rounds out the top 10. And the fans coming to life here.
Want you guys to watch Eli Tomac in some of the corners, how Chase Sexton is following the berm all the way around, getting into that loose part of the berm. It drags the motorcycle down, and you watch Eli Tomac, he stays a little bit lower in the corners. The bike rolls with a little less resistance, and your risk of crashing is a lot less because you're not getting in that loose part of the berm, as you can see. Right, there's a great view to watch the difference.
Yeah, completely different lines between Tomac and Sexton in this battle for third, and they're beginning to close back again on Roczen. Tomac setting himself up for the inside. Very, very rough through here. Can he handle that rough terrain and make the pass? I believe he has. Can Sexton respond? Eli Tomac has taken the spot.
Oh, what a pass by Eli Tomac. He was taking the same line as Ken Roczen was and Chase Sexton every single lap, and he was able to take a different line, make it the pass right up the inside to get by Chase Sexton. Now, if you're Sexton has been briefed. He knows how well Eli rides the track. If he can do the best he can to follow Eli, see what lines Eli is taking and the aggression that he is riding with, try to emulate that.
We are halfway through this 30-minute race. 15 minutes to go. 15 minutes, you could save 15% on your insurance with a call to Geico, but you want to keep an eye on this action right now. Familiar foes, Eli Tomac and Ken Roczen have been battling each other in this series for nearly a decade. The German versus the rider from Colorado. But right now they're only fighting for second because Christian Craig continues to roll up front.
Man, look at the time that Eli Tomac makes up. Over jumping. I love his lines. He's taking a different line than most of the riders. And that just shows you how comfortable he is. Eli Tomac is on that Monster Energy Yamaha Star Racing machine to take different lines. He's not married to that one line like you saw Chase Sexton was basically mirroring exactly what Ken Roczen was doing.
But when you stay behind someone, you are just taking shovelfuls, bucketfuls of sand right to the face. And that's what Tomac has had to deal with this entire moto. Right there it happened again.
Yeah, you can see Eli staying much lower in the corners. It's pretty fascinating when you're able to watch him do that and just how much time he's able to make up by doing so.
He's on the inside. This different line might work to his advantage. Here it is. He'll overjump this, get the power to the ground, and Tomac's up to second.
What a lap by Eli Tomac, getting by two phenomenal riders. And number one, getting by the points leader, Chase Sexton.
So Sexton, can he follow Tomac through? He would like to get around his teammate Roczen. That will not be easy. And only one rider left on Tomac's charge to the front. He started 7th. He drifted back to 8th. But as always with Eli, when he starts rolling, there are very few answers. And so far, no one has been able to hold him off. It's up to his teammate now to try to get his first ever moto win on a 450. Doing it against Eli Tomac is a tall task. Craig has ridden very well so far.
Man, look at the gap that they're opening up. Christian Craig has opened up a gap. They closed right up on him when we crossed the start-finish line. Now they've pulled out just a little bit from these guys.
Two battles to watch, two teammates, the Yamahas up front, and then this battle for third with the Hondas go back to the lead group.
And Roczen doing a great job holding off his teammate Chase Sexton. That's some costly time. I believe that Chase eventually will get by the 94 of Ken Roczen, but it's going to be maybe a little too late for Chase Sexton to have any hope of catching at least Eli Tomac.
Tomac stalking Craig, sets himself up. He's going to have the inside at the end of the straightaway. He doesn't even need to get there. He leaps into the lead. Unbelievable charge, 8th to 1st for Tomac.
Within a lap and a half, he goes by Chase Sexton, Ken Roczen, now Christian Craig.
And this is part of the legend of Eli Tomac. The fans call it beast mode. When he gets it together in the second half of a race, he is so hard to stop. Sexton has made the move on Roczen to get to 3rd. This one is not over. Sexton looking for a second win here in Massachusetts in the roughest track of the year. Which direction will this go? Can Sexton make a run at least at Craig? And you see Ryan Dungey has not left the party. He's still there, fairly close to Roczen. That's 4th and 5th. So Sexton made the move he needed to, getting around Roczen.
Well, Ryan Dungey's made a career of being one of the best guys in shape, and he is absolutely displaying that right now. Jason, this is a tough man's track. There's no doubt about that. Only the strong survive here, and this plays well into Ryan Dungey's hand.
Oh, close call. They're getting into lap traffic, almost literally.
You got to be mindful if you're Chase Sexton. You got to try to anticipate that. You got to give those lappers a little more room sometimes.
Sexton tries to close back in on Craig. He lost some ground in that exchange with the lap traffic, but he has pulled away quickly from his teammate Roczen. Goes back to work on Craig. Big error there from Sexton, and he brings himself right to the rear wheel of the 28.
Yeah, he's gained a lot of time here on Christian Craig. Doesn't need to waste any time. Needs to try to get by Christian as quickly as possible to have any hopes of catching Eli Tomac. However, it will be a good points race for Chase Sexton if he's able to get into that number 2.
The 50th anniversary season of Pro Motocross is brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on motorcycle insurance. Motosport.com. Make your next ride your best ride. And by Monster Energy. Unleash the beast.
Well, for decades, people wanted to know what would it be like to go fast on a rough motocross track like Southwick, but now that we have GoPros, you can see it firsthand. It's Justin Barsha from earlier today.
Now look at that quality. Spectacular.
Your GoPro course preview. Back to the action. Eli Tomac's charge all the way to the front. He has taken the lead. Now we follow the battle for second. The rider at the middle of the screen, that is second place, Christian Craig. And third is Chase Sexton. This is your battle closest on track.
Well, and just looking here from this view, I love this view. Eli Tomac isn't too far out, so this is going to be the timing of this pass for Chase Sexton is going to be crucial. If he gives up any more time within the next lap or two, it's just going to put himself really behind and not have any fair shot. So he's got to do it quick.
Interesting battle. When Sexton was a young up-and-coming Honda rider, Christian Craig was a bit of a veteran on that team, and Chase used to live at the Craig's house, learned a lot from him. But now they are battling one-on-one. What a great ride for Christian Craig. Let's send it back to Will.
I was talking to the team manager there over at Monster Energy Yamaha Star Racing guys about Christian Craig just to see about his progress through the season. And Jeremy Coker, the team manager, he said, we haven't touched anything on that bike at all. He's like, he's on the same setup as he was last year. So I said, okay, so what are we seeing here? And he said, what you're seeing is him just adjusting to East Coast tracks. He went back to Florida after High Point, and he said typically it'll take Christian just a few rounds to get back into the groove of that and to learn how to ride that softer dirt. So perhaps that, guys, we're seeing that right now as he's just kind of finding his footing here a little bit in the series.
Yeah, Craig was third overall on the podium in our opening round of the series in California, looking for his second podium of the year today. As you watch the Fly Racing Battle Box, that is Roczen versus Dungey. That is for the number 4 position, and Dungey's closing.
Dungey's going to go right by him. Right here. He's going to jump to the inside. Yes.
You saw it coming. There it is. Roczen not able to get to the left side to block it. It'll be another left-hand corner, putting Dungey in the perfect spot, and he has made the move.
That's a great ride by Ryan Dungey. Sticking with it early on this first half of the race, sticking with the group. That's going to help him get by Ken Roczen. Those guys weren't able to get away from Ryan. perfect.
At one point, Tomac had a 3.4-second lead, but Craig, who's being pushed by Sexton, has it back down to 2.6. So they're one mistake from Tomac away from being right back into the fight for the lead. Obviously, Tomac didn't become a 3-time series champion. Here he is, by having a reputation for throwing it away.
No, he's right there. Not too far away, but I'm going to tell you, man, this is what the crazy thing is so spectacular about Eli Tomac. He only exerts the amount of energy that he needs to win. So you have to just think he's savvy like that. Is he just doing what he needs to do to maintain the moto win? And we talked about physical preservation. Save himself for that second moto. There's a lot of racing left. The track is only going to continue to get rougher and rougher as the day goes on. So, very intelligent rider here.
So we might see some management here for Tomac to just maintain that lead. We hear that Justin Barsha, who was so strong at our last race, got third overall a week ago at Redbud. He has crashed in the sand. This is one of his favorite tracks, but it is not going his way today. Craig working his way through lap traffic here on the right. Going to give you the motosport.com whole shot replay as Craig able to shoot between two lap riders. And it was a good start for Ken Roxon, Ryan Dungey, but not so good for Jason Anderson, one of our title contenders in green. He will get swallowed up by the pack and go down as Roxon gets the whole shot.
Oh, Anderson was right there. Just looks like his front end kind of pushes out and he slips down. I don't believe he make contact with anybody, but the bummer part about that was Anderson was right there in the mix.
Yeah, the green 21, yeah, I'd say near the top 5.
Yeah,
meanwhile, Roxon able to secure the lead early, and there's your motosport.com whole shot. The 2-time 450 national champion out of Germany. But now Roxon has drifted back to 5th. Might have to deal with Aaron Plessinger, who is 6th, and Anderson, who is down in that pile. 40 riders in this race, so best case scenario, he was 35th by the time he got up, maybe even as far back as 40th. Oh. He is in 10th.
That is really tough to do, to come back from that far behind.
But we've seen it far too often for Anderson, both in Monster Energy Supercross and here, Lucas Oil Pro Motocross. The speed has been A+, but little things like that add up throughout the course of a season, and it's cost him a lot of points.
Well, you can see this battle here, Chase Sexton and Christian Craig. I mean, it's really hard to make a pass when the speeds are so close between these two guys right here, the number 23 of Chase Sexton and the number 28 of Christian Craig. And they're both running the same speeds and taking the same lines. That's tough challenge.
And there is real motivation for Craig to hold Sexton off. Do not think for 1 second that this Star Racing Yamaha team doesn't want Craig to finish between Tomac and Sexton and help them make up points. Now that team also employs the defending champion of this series, Dylan Ferrandis, but he is out with a thumb injury. I asked the team, will he be back before the end of the year? And they said, absolutely. We want riders up front. And you know that's because they want to steal points from the Hondas that they're battling in this championship.
And if you're Eli Tomac, this is the perfect position that you want to be in. You got your teammate in second. That's a separator. So he's maximizing as many points as he can possibly make. He's winning. His teammate, like I said, is in second. More guys you can get in between each other, build that buffer just as a points advantage.
How deep into the moto can Craig go? Can he hold off Sexton all the way to the end? What a ride for the veteran out of California. Battle continues. Sexton still applying heat. Going to make a bomb run down this hill on the outside. Can he get to the corner first? He does. Sexton into second.
Yeah, that was a great pass. Chase Sexton comes through that long, rough straightaway with a lot more speed on the outside, carrying more momentum, closes the door on Christian Craig to defend that inside line.
Now, Craig had a few lines after that, almost ran into the back of Sexton. He's not giving up on it. But this is what Sexton has done so well this year. He is not as fast as Tomac in this moto, but he's just going to be next best. First or second in every moto this year except one.
Yeah, he's the only guy to be on the podium at all 5 rounds thus far this season. So, you know what, sometimes it's not about being the fastest guy. It's about being the most consistent guy and making the least amount of mistakes. And we're at that point in the season, especially when you compare Chase Sexton versus Eli Tomac.
Gap is about 8 seconds at one point. Remember, they were maintaining it right around the 2.5 to 3 second mark, but Tomac has rolled away now. Lucas Oil Pro Motocross here, the WIC 338. This is an American Legion post. There is a hangout for those folks right on the other side of the track. You would never know that there is a world-class motocross event. You've got schools and picnics and parks surrounding this track. And what the fans here saw was a pass for second. Chase Sexton into the move.
Top of your screen right there, Chase Sexton's on the outside. Look at him just carrying a lot more speed, a lot more momentum. Look him dart to the left-hand side of the track. The reason he did that was to guard the inside, to block the inside so Christian Craig couldn't counterattack and make a counter move. See right here, look, he's going to dart right to the inside. One big arc, boom. Closes the door on Christian Craig, and that was a perfectly executed pass by Chase Sexton.
Yeah, set that up. Went into that move 2 or 3 sections ahead of where the pass was actually made to go from outside to inside. So Sexton is minimizing the damage in the series. Was he as fast as Tomac in this moto? No, that's hard to do on this racetrack, but the young rider has really improved his game as far as consistency is concerned. He's been first or second in every moto this year except one where he had a fourth, minimizing the damage. Now he's got to deal with lap traffic. Kevin Moran's there, got around him.
Well, he doesn't have a lot of supporting stats like a guy like Eli Tomac does right up.
So we go back to this battle. So Roxon got passed by Ryan Dungey for 4th, now clinging to 5th against Aaron Plessinger.
Yeah, interesting position here with Kenny Roxon. He started off so strong. Talked to Will, said he was feeling a lot better this week, so not sure what's going on. Said he got the bike feeling better. He is certainly fading back.
And I believe that's Max Anstey right behind them. But yes, on the 34, the Firepower Honda, the Englishman. So it's a 3-rider duel.
Yeah, he's got 2 guys moving forward behind him. He's certainly going to have his hands full. Kenny's a very efficient rider. He knows how to use the track and the smooth conditions to his advantage. He's going to use that.
Plessinger going to give it another run here. There wasn't any room on the inside of the previous corner. And everywhere Plessinger goes, you can see Anstey, the 3rd rider in this picture, finding yet a different line. Just in case these two tangle up or slow each other down, Anstey would love to get them both. Such a hard landing on that jump there.
Yeah, when these guys land down to this, we call them G-outs. Imagine being on a roller coaster, at the bottom of the roller coaster, how you feel all that force. Well, it's the same thing for these guys, except you're under max load with the suspension. Your suspension has nowhere to go. Sometimes your bike's really rigid feeling through those sections. Very tough conditions here.
Oh, Plessinger had another shot at it. They actually built a couple of extra bumps in the lead into that section to make it even rougher.
I like Anstey's going to the outside right here. I think it was going to pay off. Only problem with that outside, although I do like it because you're able to carry a lot more momentum to there, you use up so much more distance of the track. Look, he was right behind those guys. Look how much distance he's lost.
Now he gets it back, so the 3 riders in the same shot again. Again, this track, you got to set up sections far in advance. Plessinger doing everything he can, looking for an opening on Roxon. 2 to go.
I cannot believe this race, quick. Jason, has gone by so fast right now. So Ken, he's got to stay strong for 2 more laps. Put himself back in that position like we saw how he fended off Eli Tomac back in Thunder Valley. He never gave up and kept that position. Ended up working out for him for an overall win.
Plessinger, the tall, lanky rider out of Ohio, just dogging him everywhere he goes. Side by side again. Roxon able to put the Honda back in front of the KTM. And another opening for Plessinger that Roxon shuts down. And here comes Anstey around the outside, and he almost comes together with Plessinger.
Oh, Plessinger went a little wide in that corner. Kind of took Anstey's line away. I think Anstey was going to go powering around the outside. What a ride by Max Anstey on this Firepower Honda.
And a mistake by Plessinger, and now Anstey has the pass.
Sweet redemption for this race team. We talked to the team owner earlier today. He was so bummed about the mechanical failure that they had, but they sorted it out this week. And Max is rolling.
Yes, he was up front battling for a top 5 last week. Had problems with the clutch. They got some help from the factory Honda folks that maintain Roczen's bike. They said they put 2.5 hours on a clutch this week to make sure it could handle the 30 minutes in race conditions. And they appear to have it dialed in right now. Anstey around Plessinger for 6th. Can he go top 5?
Well, and I'm thinking you got to look at it from Max Anstey's position, okay? He's on a team that only gets factory Honda support, okay? It's not the factory team. You got to just think that he wants to get by this factory Honda HRC rider, Ken Roczen.
And this is not even a full-time team in this series. Their primary focus is Monster Energy Supercross. They signed Anstey for next year, but they said, let's do a couple races this summer together, get to know each other, and boy, are they learning in a hurry as he tries to track Roczen down. White flag now out for your leader, Eli Tomac, who's backed it down. He had up to a 10-second gap on Sexton at 7.6. And there he is in the red jersey. And it's simple. I know the key to the moto, we always say, starts, but when you're this strong and this fit, sometimes it doesn't matter who's able to come from 8th to 1st.
I'm thinking it's like, yeah, if you just get in the top 10. Yeah, but it's incredible to watch Eli Tomac all year long on this Monster Energy Yamaha Star Racing machine. He's just a different guy. You even talk to him in the pits, Jason, and he's so pleasant to be around. He really looks like he's enjoying everything about it. And I tell you what, you got to give kudos to this team as well. It's a team effort. Yes, the rider does a lot, but that bike has been certainly a great support for Eli Tomac and his riding. And as a whole, his starts have improved tremendously.
Mostly, yes. This one, I didn't even need that. But you mentioned that support group. One of the main reasons he wanted to go to this team, his old suspension tech that he worked with in his younger years, Ricky Gilmore, became the suspension tech for this team. Tomac moved over there, and their relationship, I watched him practice today. Tomac came in, he nodded his head, and Gilmore immediately started spinning the wrenches. The fact that they can communicate on that brief of a level and make such dramatic changes so efficiently is a huge difference.
Well, that to that point, and just being able to have a little bit more freedom with the bike, they felt like that was the necessary change that they needed to help Eli give himself the best chance at winning, and it has surely paid off for this Eli Tomac team.
He had had so much success, 3 titles on the Kawasaki. This was an eyebrow-raising move when it was announced that Tomac would move to Yamaha this year. All he has done is gone out and won the Monster Energy Supercross title, and he is en route now to a moto win at Southwick and further closing on the points lead here in Lucas Oil Pro Motocross. 8th to 1st, Eli Tomac crosses the Lucas Oil finish line and wins the moto at Southwick. What a performance by the 29-year-old out of Colorado. He went through all of his main competitors to get that win. Sexton 2nd, Craig a solid run for 3rd. Ryan Dungey, how about this, coming out of retirement to finish 4th today. And Max Anstey did it. He got Ken Roczen on the last lap for 5th.
Yeah, great ride by Ryan Dungey. To your point, P4 on the moto. Look at these guys. I mean, this track is so brutal physically. That sand, really hard to maneuver these motorcycles because of the sand, the resistance. Oh, man, these guys' recovery is going to be key.
Remember, see that front number plate, how much sand is there? Well, he was eating that sand when he started this race in 8th. Still managed to come through and get the win.
Cross is brought to you by Optima Batteries, the ultimate power source. Honda, celebrating 50 years of off-road dominance. And by Lucas Oil, keep that engine alive.
We are back, and this crowd at Southwick was treated to another legendary, as these fans know it, beast mode charge from Eli Tomac. Did not get the start he wanted in this moto, but he was able to get all the way to the front. We'll show it to you in the Lucas Oil race recap. Jason Wigan and Ricky Carmichael here to give you the call. So Chase Sexton, the 23, the series points leader coming into this race. He had a pretty good start, but you want to watch the green number 21 of Jason Anderson. Starts about 5th, gets tangled up, and he's in a pile.
Yeah, I hate to see that, but he's relatively up front with these guys. Would have been a great battle.
Anderson, though, would come from about 35th to 8th in this moto. Up front, Ken Roxon on the red 94. It is Christian Craig in the 28 in second, providing the challenge.
Yeah, Christian goes right up the inside. King goes outside. Berm gives away. He loses time. That's how Christian got by.
Ryan Dungey was in third early behind these two. A rare mistake for the number 5.
Yeah, right there. Just pushes the front end, as we called it. Got too high up on the berm. Berm gave way. He goes down.
Then Eli Tomac started his run. He was 8th, quickly into the top 5, and the pivotal pass, getting around his championship rival Sexton.
Switches up his line, goes to the inside, makes the move.
Now he's into third. Challenging Roxon, makes the pass.
Wasting no time, going by Sexton and Ken Roxon, all in this, probably a lap and a half.
And the only rider left on his list is teammate Craig.
Gonna make quick work, carrying a lot of speed on these straightaways.
Leaping into the number 1 spot. And Sexton has to respond. He is able to take the measure from outside to in on Craig to take second and help maintain that series lead. But he does lose 3 points to Tomac, who would eventually stretch the gap out to as far as 10 seconds. Final margin of victory ends up being 7.3. And another win for Eli Tomac. This is 4 straight Moto wins in 2022 for the number 3. Let's send it down the podium with Will.
Thank you, Jason. That's right, Eli Tomac here with me now. Eli, congratulations on that first Moto. The crowd enjoying it too, clearly. You didn't get the luxury of the starts that you had last week there, but that did not seem to bother you. What was the sense of urgency to get those passes done so you could manage your race a bit better?
I was just charging, that's all I could do. I got a really bad jump over the gate. My rear end kind of kicked crooked off the bar there, and had to go to work. That was all there was to it. Had my eye on Chase. That was my main goal, was just to focus on where he was at and just trying to charge forward. This place has so many options to take different lines. It's one of the best tracks we have for coming through the pack. So I love Southwick.
We love watching the racing here too. Thank you, Eli. Congratulations.
That's why we have the greatest of all time with us. You thought, you theorized, you predicted he might spin out of the gate.
Yep, I was thinking those hot Yamahas have a ton of power, Mike. He's going to spin in the sand.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened, but it did not matter. He was able to rally from 8th to 1st. Here's your top 10 results in this moto. As mentioned, Anstey takes the measure of Roxon for a top 5. Made that pass in the last lap. Also got around Plessinger late. Anderson from almost last to 8th. Stavachi and the privateer Benny Bloss rounding out the top 10. Send it back down to the podium and get Chase Sexton's perspective.
Thank you, Jason. Yes, coming in second. Congratulations, Chase. You seem to go about that moto in a very methodical fashion there. Our Ricky Carmichael described your pass on Christian Craig as perfect. What did you learn from that moto now that you can take into Moto 2?
Just got to be a little more aggressive. I spent a lot of time behind Kenny and Christian, but they were riding good, so just got to get better lines like Eli and just try and stop this momentum. He's riding really good. He's hard to beat, so I got to get better, and I think we can do it.
Thank you, Chase. We'll see you back out there. Chase Sexton's right there, guys, as always.
That's right, Will. Again, every moto this year, he has been 1st or 2nd, except 1 4th place finish. You're coughing.
Yeah. You just have to stack those podiums, yep. Jason. That's what you have to do, and hopefully it pays off, being at the right place at the right time all year long.
Yep. I mentioned the coughing there. That's because these guys are literally ingesting sand with the roost being thrown off the rear tires of the bike in front of them. Sit it down to the podium again.
Thank you, Jason. A guy who didn't have to eat as much sand as some of the others. You led some laps out there, Christian, looking good out there. What was the key to that today? What was your comfort level like?
Man, I didn't feel good in practice at all, so to get out front, just ride my pace. It felt good to finally lead some laps. That's where I belong. So, yeah, it's 3rd place, but man, that was fun. It was fun battling with those guys. I want to say hi to my wife and kids back at home watching right now. I'm going to try to bring this thing on the podium next moto.
Great ride. Thank you, Craig.
Well, you can never have too many contenders. We will put Craig in the mix when we go to Moto number 2 in a little over an hour as a rider that could podium or even win this race overall if things fall his direction. 450 field is still tough, but Eli Tomac's making fairly easy work of it.
He is. Looks very, very easy for him, but as we know in Lucas Oil Pro Motocross, anything can happen in the blink of an eye.
Absolutely. You even saw Ryan Dungey, a rider that doesn't usually have problems and crashes. He made a mistake in that moto. That's how quickly this track could bite you. It could change. Second moto today will be on MAV TV at 3:30 for our 450 class. American Century Championship is next in NBC. Hope you enjoyed coverage live of Lucas Oil Pro Motocross on the roughest track of the year. The fans came to see Eli Tomac get the job done, and that's exactly what he was able to do. But young Chase Sexton minimizing the damage by finishing second in that moto and maintaining a slim points lead. For the greatest of all time, Ricky Carmichael and Will Christian, I'm Jason Wygant saying so long. Thanks for watching from Southwick. Switch over to MAV TV for the rest of our race coverage.